Hello everybody, welcome back to The Nudge. This is Cecile Ahrens and today's topic is a very loaded subject, perfectionism. My definition of perfectionism is the unhealthy desire to be flawless, the unhealthy desire to be imperfect and to achieve perfection by any means deemed necessary for the person struggling with their perfectionistic tendencies. First of all, I want to start just by validating all of us as human beings that we all share the deep desire for love, approval, attention, relevance, and acceptance. And I believe this is at the core of why we as a society are obsessed with perfection. It is everywhere. It is rampant. It is, something that's been going on since time immemorial. So I just want to first start off that this is something that we are deeply conditioned to believe, that we are flawed and unworthy and never good enough. There's a deep and layered conditioning that's happened for centuries, and it has ingrained in us this trance of unworthiness. This is a term that one of my favorite teachers, authors, psychologists, Tara Brach, has talked about over and over again, this trance of unworthiness. And somewhere along the way, we believed that the only way to get our needs met for love, acceptance, approval, attention, meaning, and relevance is to strive for perfection. On top of that, our society is also obsessed with winning, with performance. And not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but if our desire to be great goes unchecked, it can definitely lead and cross over to this unhealthy form of perfectionism that I am talking about. There is a difference between wanting to be your best and wanting to be perfect. Okay? Wanting to be your best and wanting to be perfect. They are two different things. And a lot of times people fuse them and can't discern which one's which. Okay? The other thing that also can happen is if you come from a home or an environment where the message was you had to constantly be doing well. You had to behave well, or be a good girl or a good boy. You had to achieve, you have to get good grades. So it becomes this very limited definition of what it means to be successful in our society. Oftentimes, we confuse that with being perfect or always, for the most of the time, most of our lives, doing really well, whatever that means. So some of the things or the signs to look out for if you're wondering whether you're suffering from these perfectionistic tendencies is to just scan what is going on with the quality of your thoughts most days, more days than not. Most days. What is going on with the quality of your thoughts? Are you preoccupied with yourself, with how you're doing, how you look, how you're coming across to others, what you have, what you're driving, what you look like? There's this preoccupation, an unhealthy preoccupation about the self that happens for people who tend to be perfectionistic. There's also a tendency to be self-obsessed or obsessed with acquiring things, acquiring relationships, material possessions, accolades, accomplishments, letters after your name. All those things can be disguised as you just want to achieve things and you're just ambitious. And yes, again, there's a difference between desire and wanting to live a fulfilled, authentic life, and the ego wanting to get those external forms of validation so that they can appear to be perfect, and then think that once I have those things, that means I'm going to be complete and happy. So it's hard to discern, but like I've always said, if you want to understand yourself, understand your intentions, understand kind of where you're at in your life growth, it might be beneficial to work with a coach or a therapist to help you discern the difference between these two concepts I'm talking about, being your best and being perfect. They're two different things. The other things that can happen when one is obsessed with perfection, there's a big price to pay. These often result in eating disordered behaviors, mental health conditions like depression, anxiety disorder, OCD tendencies. It can also result in substance abuse, in very problematic relationships, because you're constantly obsessed with you, and you, as you can see, that can create relationship issues. Feelings of isolation, because oftentimes people who have perfectionistic tendencies have a hard time not appearing vulnerable and always seeming to be in control, and everything's fine, everything's great, I'm happy, life is good. And it blocks intimacy. It can block love. So what I want to invite you to do today is to start just by evaluating the intentions in which you desire to achieve certain things. What is the deep intention behind that? Because the problem is, if you think your happiness lies in something else that is outside of the here and now, and in someone else that is, a relationship, for example, that hasn't happened yet, then you're really missing the joy and beauty that is in the here and now. I know this is deep, and you might, need to listen to this a couple of times and to really understand what I'm saying, but more importantly, work with somebody so that you actually can get to the state that I'm talking about. The problem with that is it's this sense of never arriving. Again, Tara Brach talks about that. This sense of always being on your way somewhere else because you're restless and not comfortable and confident in your own skin. So you're constantly looking and searching and never feeling fulfilled or happy. Or if you were, it's temporary. It just doesn't stick, because you're constantly on your way somewhere else or thinking, my happiness is over there. So this doesn't mean not having tenacity and focus and desiring to achieve a goal. No, you can have all of those attributes and still really desire to achieve something, but not make those external things as a measure of your worth and value. Oftentimes with perfectionistic tendencies is their self-worth and self-identity is closely organized and linked around their image or how they want to appear to the rest of the world. And there's a big price to pay, and you don't have to suffer this way because perfectionism is absolutely unattainable. And it creates a lot of internal psychological, emotional pain. there is a healthier way to achieve your goals and desires. And it is possible, like I've mentioned in previous videos, to build your self-esteem from the inside out and to really connect with your authentic, true self. And once you have that, once you feel that, everything I'm talking about is going to completely make sense because you are already worthy. You are already good enough. And it's the trance of unworthiness that makes you constantly question that. And it's not your fault. This is everywhere. You know, we're not born with healthy self-esteems off the bat. Self-love, self-esteem is a process. But I just want you to know that perfectionism is not a harmless thing, that there are consequences to your emotional well-being. And you know, extreme cases are, you know, like I said, eating disorders, substance abuse, anxiety disorders, and so forth. So please, if this is something you feel that you struggle with, consider talking about it with a skilled professional like a life coach or therapist and really start to evaluate some of the reasons why this is even something that you are struggling to begin with. And there is a way to break free from it. It's not going to be this simple process. It's an ongoing process. As your self-esteem builds, the tendency to want to be perfect starts to dissipate because now you start to understand that your worth has really nothing to do with accomplishment or how you look or if you have a perfect body or not, you know. And unfortunately, a lot of people are actually going, and this is no disrespect, this is just, you know, kind of the paradigm, the trance that I'm talking about, you know. If we don't check this perfectionistic tendency, you can go to extreme. You can start to really, you know, change your body and, you know, do all sorts of unhealthy things just to finally feel good enough. So please consider and know that there is a way out of this and that we have all been deeply conditioned to feel not good enough, but you don't have to buy into this whole thing. And I really hope that you seek support and help if you are struggling with this issue. Thank you so much.